Good evening, Drew.
There he is. Wow, you sound energized.
Am I? It's all fake. I'm actually very tired. Oh,
Are you back at work now?
yeah. Yes, I went back on yesterday, Thursday. Yeah,
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 same. Yeah,
yeah.
same. I mean, it's pretty quiet. Like there's not a lot going on. I only had a handful of meetings, but it's nice to have those couple days to just like do email and then figure it all out.
Yeah. I got caught up. My to-do list is still a wasteland of broken promises, but I'll get there. So,
All right, buddy. Well, let's do a quick little recap
mm-hmm.
because our schedules have
Mm-hmm.
been, of course, with the
Mm-hmm.
holidays, all sorts of screwed up here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a quick, Christmas recap. Just wanted to kind of hear what you ended up doing with the rest of your time off. Did you get any cool Christmas presents?
Uh,
Let me hear.
I mean, I didn't get a whole lot of Christmas presents, which is what I asked for.
Right.
I did get the Lego Bumblebee to go with my Lego Optimus Prime.
Ooh.
So that was a fun build.
Oh, it's done already.
Oh yeah. I did it over a couple days, so yeah, it's good. What about you? I know I saw one of yours.
Yes. So, much like yourself, I also very much enjoy building Lego.
It's fun.
So my wife got me the Lego Jaws set.
Nah, I love it.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. It was a fun build. It was, uh I don't know. I had a lot of fun building it. Now what's interesting about it though is there's like two ways you can display it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you came over, which we'll talk about that next, but when you
Mm-hmm.
came over, you saw the completed shark.
I did. Yes. Yeah.
And it's nice because when the shark is all in one piece, there's a nice little stand and it's got the little, Jaws like title thing underneath it. And that itself, I thought it looks really good. I think it looks like a really good shark made out of Lego. But when you finish building the boat and all the minifigs of the three main characters, you can elect to basically pull the shark apart so you only
Mm.
see the upper part of his body,
Mm-hmm.
and you can put him into like a little diorama of like the ocean, and then you can take the boat that you build, the orca, and that is sort of like set at an angle in there, so it like reenacts one of the key pivotal scenes of the movie where the shark is attacking the boat. And that's
Yes.
currently how I have it set up. So it's on my shelf right now with that, and it was a fun little build. But that was the second best Lego set I built over the past few
Oh,
days.
okay. Do tell. Do tell.
Okay, so my dad got me the Lego Notre Dame.
Oh, yes.
Um,
That's cool. My son got
Phenomenal.
my son got the Lego Nightmare Before Christmas set.
Uh,
Dude,
yeah,
okay.
Mandy wants me to build that one.
Yeah. Shout out to my wife for basically scouring the greater Columbus region for a place that actually had it in stock. But anywho, the Lego Notre Dame looks amazing.
So I
Yeah.
have a really big affinity for all of the architecture series that Lego
Hmm.
puts out, and
Yeah.
this one's no different. Just absolutely phenomenal, really really well done. As somebody who has actually been to Notre Dame, I mean, this is about as good as it gets when it comes to faithfully recreating the actual cathedral. Very very fun build. I will say that it is at the scale you're building it, there are many small pieces that you need to, and like my thumbs hurt. Like my thumbs hurt from
Oh,
pushing
yeah.
small pieces together. But very cleverly done. And I really enjoyed, and a lot of the bigger Lego sets do this too, but the instruction manual you get also doubles as like a little bit of a history lesson
Hmm.
about,
Yeah.
you know, for using Notre Dame as an example, is like when you're building out the different parts, it sort of follows the history of the church, what part was built first, and then as it was built out and what refinements were made, and then it talks about what happened during the French Revolution and of course the most recent fire. Very very fun build. That's currently up on display in the living room because it's just very very well done. um Very, very fun build. Looks really, really, really good. So, what else? What else? How did the kids do?
They did. They made out like bandits as always. This year they mostly wanted like clothes and stuff, so that's what they
Okay.
got. Uh, yeah, yeah. My daughter got some stuff to like decorate her room, and yeah, but it was good. It was good. The kids had a good time. They had a good Christmas. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So the other big thing we did
Mm-hmm.
for my birthday is everybody came over and we played a board game.
We sure did.
And it's a board game that I've been wanting to play for a while, and that
Mhm.
is Chain Magnate.
Yes. Hmm.
I did not play that game very good.
I didn't either.
No, you played better than me because, like you said, the main sort of
Yeah.
indicator of how well you do in that game is how much money you have. Your money is your score.
Mhm.
And again, with the people we play these games with, I mean,
Hmm.
you know, friends of the show, Matt, John, and Robert, just have galaxy brains when it comes to
Mhm.
figuring out
Yeah.
how these games all fit and interlock together. I will say right now, I really enjoyed the game. Even though I got absolutely demolished, I think that was a really, really cool game, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that we played it.
Yeah. It's interesting because like a lot of modern games, th- I mean, obviously players can do better than other players, but there's usually mechanics to try to keep those players who aren't doing as well like competitive and in the game. And like Chain Magnate is one of those games that if you make a mistake and no one else does, it's over. Whether that mistake's on turn 1 or turn 2 or
Correct.
turn 8, it's you're done. It's over. It is unforgiving.
Yep.
Completely unforgiving. Now, I have been looking into the expansion, which is called the
Mm.
catch-up mechanic and other what is it saying? I can't remember. But the catch-up mechanic isn't about catch-up. It's about catching up.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But yeah, so it gives you some, I guess, like if you haven't played the game, this won't make any sense, but there are some like milestone cards that you can get when someone else sells a food or basically sells food to a house that you marketed to. So it gives you a little bit of a chance to catch up.
Well, so the interesting thing was, we started playing, and I'm like, okay, I think I get it. After a turn, I was like, okay, I think I understand how this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was the first player. I was the first player to do a lot of things. I got a lot of milestones early.
Mm-hmm.
I actually sold like the first hamburger in the game.
Yeah.
So like I was like, okay, I get it. But looking back on how I played, what other players did while I was doing that, I had a lot of short-term success, and I decided to kind of let that ride for a little while to see how it was going to play out. And I didn't increase the size of my corporation fast enough. Like I didn't have enough people. I didn't have enough actions to do on my turn.
Yeah.
And that was where I made my mistake, because I was like, okay, I got something going here, and I'm going to try to keep riding what I have, but I didn't plan ahead, and it bit me in the ass.
Yeah, I was paying too much salary without getting the necessary roles or milestones required to compensate for that. So while I was making money every turn, it wasn't as much as other players, because especially in the beginning, because I was just throwing money back into the bank, paying for my employees, and other people weren't doing that, and they had more money and flexibility towards the mid and late game, and just absolutely blew us away.
Yeah. I think first place had, the way that the game also works is that there's a mechanic where there's a certain amount of money in the bank at the start of the game, and then everybody sort of secretly chooses a number to figure out how much longer the game is going to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And that number, let's just call it X, like one of the players won the game with like half the money in the bank.
Yes.
And then like second place was like half of that. So
yeah,
they clearly got it more than I did, and were able to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
Because what's interesting is you're the kind of the last thing I'll say about it, right? is you're kind of like you make your move and you're basically playing for the next turn because things don't happen right away. You sort of throw these things out there and you hope that you have played it well so that you can then capitalize on it the next turn. And that's the piece that bit me in the ass a couple times because I saturated the board with some things that I intended to reap. But the thing that I didn't fully understand until it was too late is just what the effect of discounting something by $1 can do. Just $1, even though it could be several spaces away from where you're marketing, means you miss out. And I didn't fully grasp that equation until much too late.
Yeah. I think it's one of the expansion basically comes with like a whole bunch of like mini expansions that you can add into the game. It's got like new milestones. It has stuff for 6 players. But one of the things that it does is it introduces like baristas and coffee houses or coffee shops. So what it is if you have, so basically there's that mechanic, right, where a house is trying to figure out where it's going to go to meet its demand, to eat its food, where it's going to go to eat. If it passes, well, it's taking that route. If it passes your coffee shop, you get money.
Okay.
So it's one of those, so it's one of those ways where if you identify someone who is doing really well, you can kind of like leech onto them a little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then more stuff.
Yeah. And the new milestones is actually really interesting because like it makes every mile, like, so there's like some milestones for like marketing the first pizza, marketing the first hamburger, or selling it, and those the effects of those are the same. The expansions milestones, everything is different, and it has certain milestones where if you don't claim them by like the second or third round, they're just gone.
Interesting.
So I think the point of those is to point players, especially new players, towards winning strategies.
Oh. Yeah, because you're right. Like if you screw up or you don't, if you get left behind, there really is no way.
If you have one bad turn, you may not be able to recover from that. So it's rude. It's like Monopoly but fun.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. And like, there is something to be said for that, where if you know what you're doing and you want to step on somebody's throat, like that's the game for you. Like you can absolutely shit stomp somebody.
Yeah.
So, okay, but good times.
Yeah,
and then the other quick thing I'll mention is that I still owe you money for your PlayStation 5. I got that all hooked up. Man, I'll tell you, dude.
Did you get a TV for it?
No. I haven't hooked up my monitor right now.
Okay.
I need. Okay, so a couple things, a couple quick little PS5 questions for you. You play yours with a headset, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you just do Bluetooth for that?
The PlayStation 5 does not support Bluetooth.
Excuse me? Aren't the controllers Bluetooth?
Technically no. Yes, but you cannot connect a Bluetooth headset to the PlayStation 5. The reason the reason they don't let you do that is because they're worried about latency.
Okay.
And they don't want people to have a bad experience. So you have basically 2 options. You can just buy into the Sony ecosystem, and they call it PS Link. Basically, it's like RF. So you get a little dongle, and the dongle connects to your headset, and it's all latency free, and it actually works pretty well. Or if you didn't notice, there is a headphone jack in the ass of the controller.
Yes, I did see that.
So you could plug something into there. Yeah. Or you can
does that drain the controller battery faster?
No. I don't. Maybe. I mean, I guess it would have to, simply because it's sending, using electricity to push the speakers. But yeah. I use what are they? Are they the Pulse 3Ds? They're the I use the Sony Pulse Elite wireless headset. That's what I use currently.
Sony Pulse Elite.
I'll put a link in there. There you go. They look like a PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. They certainly do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pulse 3D. Mm-hmm. So there's the Pulse 3D and then there's the Pulse Elite.
Yes, the Elite's what I have. Sony bought some like headphone company and that were making really good like magnetic planar headphones, and the Pulse Elite is the result of that. They're pretty good sounding headphones. They use like the PS Link lagless audio shit. And they're pretty comfortable. The mic's decent. It does have the feature, which I haven't really used much, where you can also connect it to like your phone and have audio from your phone and the PlayStation in the headsets at one time, and you can control the mix of that. They're expensive. I won't lie. What are they now?
Looks like they're
$150. Yeah, but they're good. They're good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Box contents: Pulse Elite wireless headset, mm-hmm. PlayStation Link USB adapter. Yeah, so that must be the dongle.
You get a dongle. Mm-hmm.
But the headset doesn't have a dongle.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Pulse Elite charging hanger, mounting plate, USB cable, printed materials. Next generation gaming audio, experience extruding lifelike sound, multi-device connectivity.
Yeah.
Ability to wirelessly connect to a range of devices. So does the headset itself have Bluetooth?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can use these as okay.
Yeah. It's like if you wanted to like play a shooting man game and listen to a podcast, you could pair your phone with the headset and listen to both at the same time. And there's a little setting in there you control the mix, and yeah.
Okay. Command and control. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But I guess I didn't notice that there was a little bottom boy.
Yeah.
In here, I could just plug in my headset to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I have
right in the crotch.
right in its little ass. I mean, I have what I was attempting to do, and this was going to lead me to sort of my gripe here, is I have these. Right now, what I have connected to my computer is I have a pair of those Sony Bluetooth headphones, the noise canceling ones, but I just use them as regular headphones because they sound pretty good. Mm-hmm. And I just have those wired into my desktop amp. And I charged my headset thinking, oh, I'll just, connect this on Bluetooth. And that PlayStation system UI makes sense to somebody, but it does not make sense to me.
Oh, dude, I actually like it quite a bit. Yeah, I mean it's to me it actually makes sense, unlike the Xbox user interface, which is just
I'm not here to be an apologist for the Xbox interface. It took me a little while to get used to the Xbox interface, but then once I did, it kind of made sense.
There are a few settings that I think are in the wrong place, but yeah,
I got my account. I had to try to remember my PlayStation account password because I haven't logged into anything PlayStation. Well, that's not true. I had to log into PlayStation for Helldivers 2 at some point, but I had to go digging for my PlayStation account information, and then it was like an address that I lived at 20 years ago was in there. So that's how long it's been since I've used a PlayStation in earnest. I thought that I had some games that I had originally had on my account. That's not true, or at least they don't work on the PS5. Sony had a hell of a sale, though.
Yeah, they sure did.
So I picked up a couple games I think I spent like $40 and got a couple games that I want to play, like the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was 80 gigs.
Yeah, it's a big chunky boy.
Huge. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that took a little while to download. And then, some baseball game that I want to try.
MLB The Show?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a PlayStation exclusive now. So
it is. And I've been wanting to try it for a while. Yeah. So that's kind of what's there. Now I was concerned at first because I plugged into PlayStation 5 and it booted, and then it's like, it would start to boot and then it'd be like press X to sign in or whatever the message was on there, and it'd be like shutting down. And I was like,
no.
huh. Yeah, and it just got stuck in that loop. But then I went online. I went onto the internet. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I heard of it.
And I Googled that, and apparently I had to like repair the hard disk or something, and now it's fine. I don't know. Now, did you upgrade the storage in this thing?
Yes, you do. I didn't bother to take out the M2 hard drive I installed in that sucker. So, yep.
Okay. Wow. So I got like a bespoke version here.
Now you do have to like manage the storage, like if you want, it doesn't automatically move games between the two. But
what do you mean by that?
So you basically have two discs. You have the 800 gigabyte or whatever disk that came, the SSD that came with it. And then the M2 is a separate disk. So you have to go into like storage, and if you want to move things around, or you can set which one's the default to go to. But yeah.
Okay. I feel like when I clicked download on these, I was able to pick, I think I picked the M2. I just assumed the M2 was the only drive that was in there.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So that's an additional drive. Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
I'm learning. I'm learning things.
Yeah. If you pop off one of the covers, there's a little slot where you can put the M2 drive in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where like when it came out, so like obviously when the PlayStation 5 came out, one of the things they were really harping on was like their speed of the SSDs, because they were faster than anything else you could get on the market at the time. When it shipped, there were so that the PlayStation has speed requirements for the SSD, how fast it has to be in order for it to accept it and be able to use it. When it was released, there were no SSDs fast enough for the PlayStation 5 that you could buy. So it took about 6 months. Like they were in the pipeline. And like after like 6 months after they released the first ones that had the fast read and write speeds, which is now it's all basically any SSD you buy today is fast enough because they're all getting
hella
better.
Fast.
Yeah,
fast.
But when it came out, there was nothing you could buy. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, yep. I mean, I'm still just trying to figure out how to like quit games the right way, and I just would, yeah. I just don't get it, and I'm not bad at computers, and like I'm pretty good at video games, but yeah, just learning that UI, I don't know, man. There's just something about it just doesn't click with me.
And by the way, it's not an X. We call it it's a cross.
It's cross. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm not fully in the lifestyle yet. I'm not fully in the lifestyle yet. So, but yeah, it's all hooked up. You know, it's
good.
I just need a way to listen to music better, because playing the sound through my shitty monitor speakers is.
I'm sure it's tinny and just.
Oh,
awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. So there's that. All right. So changing gears then, Paul, over the break, I watched a movie.
Okay.
I watched The Batman.
Oh, The Batman.
Okay. With the Robert Pattinson.
Yes. And
I thought it was fucking awesome.
It's a good movie. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I will say that there were about 2 points in that movie where I thought, okay, the movie's going to be over now. And then the movie's not over now.
Yeah. I think they could have cut out a good half an hour out of that movie.
That could have been 2 movies.
Yeah.
Could have been 2 movies.
That's true too. Yes. Yeah.
On the one hand, though, I'm glad they didn't, because I just thought the way. Okay, I don't know. Do we need spoilers for this?
I'll put a spoiler horn here. Yeah.
Hey nerds, there's gonna be spoilers.
I didn't know who the villain was gonna be.
Okay.
And the dude that plays the Riddler fucking kills it.
Yes. Yeah.
Fucking kills it. Yeah, and now I understand where you talked about the Penguin show, which is in this Batman universe.
Yes, it literally Batman does not show up in it at all, but it literally takes place after the end of the Batman, where the city gets flooded and destroyed, and that's actually a big big driver of the events.
So I was going to ask you about that, right? So one of the plot lines of this movie is there are mobsters like Falcone and those other guys who, let's just say, they meet an unfortunate end.
Yeah.
But like the one guy who walks out of this relatively unscathed is the Penguin, who I assume rises to power in this new Gotham. And that's kind of the premise of the show.
He tries. It's a good watch. It's interesting because it's still that same character. It continues that storyline, but it's also just a good like gangster movie. Like or show. It's good. It's really good. There are no heroes. You will like the show does some very interesting things to kind of like make you sympathetic for certain characters, and then those characters just do awful things, and you're like, fuck, everybody's bad. Everybody's bad. There's no winners. But
okay. Now you also hit on something else too, because after watching the movie, I'm like, okay, maybe I now need to watch the Penguin. But there's things that happen in the Batman where the city's not okay.
Yeah.
At the end of that movie. I thought maybe this was going to be like a not an origin story, but like a prequel to the Batman. But you're saying it takes place after all of this.
After.
Okay.
Like literally like a week after or something. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I want to watch that now.
Yeah.
I need to get a hold of a Max subscription. I'm gonna have to set up like my 6th free trial.
Yeah. Again,
how many episodes is it?
I don't know. Let's ask the internet.
Okay.
Number of
but yeah, episodes. It was one of those things where I was just 8 episodes,
and they're about an hour long each.
Yeah. So I can binge that. I can binge that pretty quick. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was like tooting around late at night over break, and I'm like, I haven't seen this yet, and I even forget what I saw it on. I think it was I don't think it was Amazon. I don't even know what it was on, but it was pretty good. Plus, the woman that plays Catwoman is also really good.
That's what, like, one of Lenny Kravitz's daughter. I can't remember her name.
Yeah. But really good show. Really, really good movie. I was pleasantly surprised because I don't know. I just don't follow movies as much as I used to, so I couldn't tell you if it was well received, not well received when it came out.
It was well received. Yeah. I like it because it shows it. The movie's take on Bruce Wayne is not that, like, okay, this is the guy who's like pretending to be a playboy and has his shit together and is also Batman. It is this is a broken individual.
Well, so that's the other kind of plot of the movie that caught me off guard. And now here's my question to you. So back when I was in my comics era, and I was like watching, not watching, but reading comics and going to comic book stores more. I seem to remember that there was a Batman comic series. I believe it was called Sins of the Father, right?
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So was this an adaptation of that? I'm totally grasping at straws. I don't know, but was this the same thing?
I mean, it may have been inspired by. Like, obviously all these, writers of these movies are inspired by the comic. No, according to the internet, Sins of the Father was a tie-in to the Telltale Batman video games. So, yeah. But maybe they read it. Yeah. And got some inspiration there. Yeah.
But you're right. Like, he's very like, he's very brooding. He is obviously broken. I thought they did a really good job with like the action sequences, like that car sequence was amazing.
And the Batmobile was so good too. And just,
it was like, it wasn't like a tank. It was just like a car that he
muscle
worked
car.
on.
Yeah. And that scene where like the Penguin's like upside down, like, is like, I got you. And then he just like sees him come out of the fire.
Yeah. That was really good. The fight sequences and everything I thought were pretty well done too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the character that played the Riddler, I forget that actor's name.
Yeah.
But he was amazing.
Inspired by the Zodiac Killer. So yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, my last question to you about this, because again, after I finished watching the movie, I immediately got my phone and started digging around, and I could not find a definitive answer. Are they going to make a sequel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
'Cause I would totally watch another movie in that iteration of Batman.
So if you followed the shit show that was kind of like the DC universe, the DC extended universe, whatever you want to call it, it was kind of a shit show. And then they hired James Gunn to basically just say, fix it. And he has said that they're actively working on the script, but at this point the script's not done, so he doesn't expect the movie until 2027.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that happens at the end of the movie is it goes to the Riddler in Arkham, and he's talking to somebody in the next cell over who I assume is the Joker.
Yeah, so I'll find, hold on. There's actually a deleted scene on YouTube. Yes. I will put a link to that. So they actually shot a scene where the Batman goes to Arkham City to talk to the Riddler and get help. Talk to the Joker, trying to get help to understand the Riddler. It's about 5 minutes. I mean, I can see why they cut it, but it's a pretty good scene. Yeah. Yeah. You don't really see the Joker that much, but you can definitely, like, you do see them. Yeah, you do see more of the Joker than you do in that one particular scene. So yeah. So yeah, really, really enjoyed it. It's one of those things where I think you had talked about it on this show before, and I just sort of filed it away. And again, I was tooling around, I saw it, and I watched it, and I'm like, holy shit, this is really fucking good. It makes me want the sequel even more, and it makes me want to go watch The Penguin. Yeah. I'd recommend watching The Penguin. It's a good show. It's good.
Okay. Yeah. Once I figure out my Max situation, I'll do that.
Good.
So yeah, let's keep moving here then. So let's talk video games real quick.
Yes. Again. So you got me to play the Mass Effect video games.
Yep.
A couple years ago, I think I played through everything but Andromeda. You told me Andromeda's not worth my time.
Worry about it.
Well, BioWare's back at it, and they have a big new video game, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I'm here to say, it's not Mass Effect, but it's pretty good. You can see the BioWare chops underneath it. So yeah.
Now, I never played a Dragon Age game.
I don't think I actually ever finished the first one. I did not play Inquisition. This game does have a lot of nouns. But it's presented in a way where it explains things that you need to. And every once in a while, there's like a noun where I'm like, I wonder what they mean by that. And they do have a pretty good glossary in the game where you can go and just look it up like, oh, that's what lyrium is. Got it. But even without really knowing the whole backstory of Dragon Age, I'm probably like 30, maybe 40 hours in, and the story has got me absolutely hooked.
Really?
I'm hooked. I'm hooked. It's good. I'm invested. It's not an open world game. You basically have there's these little, maybe small open world kind of things, but it's very much mission based, right? You do a mission, you complete something, and it has these little, after major missions, there's like these little interludes, and it keeps foreshadowing. It's like, yeah, well, they achieved this, but what they don't know is this other really bad, nasty thing is coming for them. And I'm just waiting for all those to drop. It's got some of those, well, at least kind of early on in the game, it's got one of those kind of meaty BioWare decisions where at the beginning of the game, you're assembling your crew, the titular Veilguard. And there's one of those things where basically 2 cities are getting attacked. The team splits up, but you can only be in one place. And the place you don't go, that person of your crew kind of gets pissy. And disappears for a bit, and yeah.
And
Yep.
you said you did play Inquisition?
I did not.
Oh.
I did not play Inquisition at all. I may go back and try it. I mean, this is very much a, like it's a action, like it's a third person over the shoulder action RPG. You've got a light attack, you've got a heavy attack, you've got abilities.
It's Mass Effect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not turn-based.
No, it's not turn-based. No. But it's good. It's also on the PlayStation 5 Pro. It is absolutely fucking gorgeous. So it's not very often in a game where I just kind of like stop and go, wow, I'm in a beautiful spot, and just kind of look around and like enjoy the scenery. But I do that in this game. So the last time I did that, I think it was part of like when Cyberpunk was good.
Okay. So I too have been playing a few video games over break. As part of the Steam sale, I picked up 3 recent Resident Evil games.
Okay.
So the first one I picked up was the Resident Evil 4 remake.
Okay.
Now, Resident Evil 4, I played it on the GameCube, but I never finished it. I'm here to tell you, if you like kind of that classic Resident Evil experience where it's third person, you have to like solve puzzles and run around and do stuff, man, they did such a good job. They did such a good job with this game. It's also different than the original Resident Evil 4 because I played about halfway through that game on the GameCube. And there were several things that were different in the remake because I was like, oh, I know what happens now. And then that wasn't what happened. It's real, real good. I finished it. They do incentivize you to play it again. I'm not ready to play it again because I have some other Resident Evil games to play. But I don't know where you stand on the Resident Evil franchise. I don't know if you're a fan or not.
I generally avoid any kind of horror or scary games. As a rule, I don't like to be scared. I don't like horror movies. I don't like horror games. It's which is weird considering the kind of music I listen to. I like my evil to come in through my ears, not through my eyes. Yeah, I don't like jump scare. I don't like being scared at all. I just avoid them completely. I think I got like Resident Evil Village like free.
Okay. So let me stop you.
And I tried. I got about an hour into that game. I'm like, nope.
So let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So Resident Evil 4 is not a horror game. It's an action game. Like there's not any jump scares in Resident Evil 4. I'm thinking back through the plot points. No, that's not a jump scare game.
Okay.
It is very much a there's monsters and you have to think about how you want to try to deal with these monsters. But I wouldn't call it a horror game per se. Now, I also picked up Resident Evil 7 Biohazard and then its sequel, Resident Evil Village.
Oh, maybe I played Biohazard. Is that the one where you're in that
Those
creepy
are
town?
horror games. Wait, what?
Is that the one where you're like is that the one where you're like looking for your wife? Is that Biohazard?
You're looking for your wife in Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Okay, that's the one I
played.
For
your child in Resident Evil.
Okay,
Village.
I played Biohazard then. I played it for about an hour, and I'm like, nope.
Yep,
Delete off hard drive. Do not want.
Nope. Those two games are horror games. They're first person. They build tension. Shit will jump out at you. And there are several points because I am playing through Village right now. I'm doing them in the wrong order. I'm playing Village right now, and not only are there jump scare moments, but there are anxiety-inducing moments where you're in a very small space being chased by a very large monster, and you have to either try to hide from the monster or avoid the monster, and if you screw up, it's like you die. So, like, there's those kind of things I don't like those things in games. But I'm playing through Resident Evil Village right now, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I'm late to this party. This game's been out for a while now. It's amazing. And the only reason I'm playing it out of order is that I bought it on sale on the Steam sale, and then I bought another game. I ended up refunding the other game. I'm like, well, I'm enjoying The Village, so I guess I'll get Biohazard, which was like $10. It's phenomenal. I'm going to tell you right now, like, I love everything that's happening in this game. Outside of the jump scares. I'm not a big fan of the jump scares when they happen. But let's see. I'm 7 hours into The Village right now. And I can kind of tell when it's going to happen. But they also do some amazing things with like the psychological aspect of the game. That makes it like, wow, this is really fucked up. I can't believe how good these games are. Plus on modern hardware, like I actually got it to crash my video card by turning on every single graphic fidelity option that I could. It sounded like my video card was going to take off, and then like the display just died, and I was like, well, that's that. I thought for sure that I cooked it. But no, I'm really enjoying The Village. I know that I know what happens in Resident Evil 7 because at the start of Village, you can opt to watch a recap. So I've already kind of spoiled the story of 7, but I'm still going to play through it because after watching the first season of True Detective, and it also takes place in Louisiana and how fucked up things are in that part of the country, like I kind of want to live through that fresh hell. The main enemy is mold, apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah.
I'll have to, that'll be fun. But yeah, I was going to say that if you were looking for, if you were trying to get back in, here's the other thing I would say. The Resident Evil 2 remake, which I played when it came out originally, like that game's a horror game because you'll be walking through a hallway and you'll hear a monster, but you can't see it. Or like there'll be an open window and you're like, I wonder if someone's going to come through that window. And then sometimes it does, but then when it doesn't, you're like, okay, I guess monsters don't come through that window. And then you'll go through that area again. And of course, a monster jumps out of that window and gets you. So there are like jump scare moments in that game. But the Resident Evil 4 remake, just atmospherically, the way they redid the graphics, the way it plays, it just plays and responds so much better, especially with mouse and keyboard input. Yeah, it's real good. So I'm here to recommend that. If you're looking for something to play that's, in the Resident Evil universe, man, that was really good. It was really good. And then of course Village and Biohazard, but I don't think those games are for you.
No, not at all. Nope. Pass. Hard pass.
Yep. I also picked up, just in passing, the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever play that?
I did. Dark Forces is good. Yeah,
it was good.
I didn't play the remaster, just the original.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My original computer wasn't good enough to play the Dark Forces remaster.
Oh,
yeah, because I had a 486 SX with only like 4 gigs of RAM.
Yeah,
and it just wouldn't run. Like I wasn't able to play that game until I got my hands on like my first Pentium.
Yeah, that's what I played it on, with my first Pentium. Yeah.
Man, like that was actually a good, back when those games were kind of new and innovative, and that was like in that Doom 1, Doom 2 era.
Yeah, back when you had a 2D and 3D video card in your computer.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
All right. Now, I don't understand anything about this last concept here.
Okay. So, as you know, I'm working on an app in my free time, in my downtime. So obviously, I'm building an iPhone app. I'm using Swift. I'm using like the modern libraries like Swift UI and Swift Data, and it's been going great. But I keep hearing on podcasts all these people saying like, yeah, like I turned on Swift 6 and their concurrency mode, and I had a whole bunch of errors, and I spent days trying to figure it out. And I spent some while being all smug, like, I don't have any of those problems. Yeah, I must understand all this stuff really well. And then one day I'm like, I wonder. And I didn't have it turned on. So I switched it to Swift 6 with strict concurrency, checking, and I had a whole bunch of errors and warnings, a whole bunch. So basically, with the latest versions of Swift, they've been introducing tools to make your code multi-threaded, being able to do multiple things at the same time, or to do something in the background while you're keeping your UI responsive. And there's all sorts of rules about, like, there's a main thread and all your UI updates has to happen on that. And that always was a point of contention, where someone would, like, you do a background task and then you would want to go back and do the update on the UI, and it wasn't on that same thread, and you'd either have warnings or sometimes you'd have crashes. So Apple put a lot of effort into the latest version of Swift to basically make this to kind of change how multi-threading, how concurrency works in Swift. And they added a lot of features, and which I thought I understood, and then when I turned it all on, I realized I understood none of it. But I'm here to say, so when you asked, how do I get into, like, Swift development, and I recommended the 100 Days of Swift UI on hackingwithswift.com. Well, turns out on that same web page, he's got a series called Swift Concurrency by Example. And it's basically a fucking book.
Okay.
That you can just read for free. I did actually give him like $30. I wanted to read it on my iPad. But I'm here to tell you that I read that. It's like 150 pages or so, I think. I read it all. And then I sat back in my application and I started looking at the errors, and I'm like, I understand what that's telling me now. And I changed some things, and I made some things actors that weren't actors before. And I understood what the errors were telling me. And I went through and I fixed them all, and my application still works, and I'm extremely happy. So big.
Okay, so let me jump in here. So what I think you're telling me is that, for people who don't write programs or work with computers as much as we do, when you say concurrency, basically that means that your program is doing multiple things at the same time.
It has the capability of doing multiple things at the same time. Yes.
Yeah. Because now, and again, I'm not as good. I'm not a big programmer boy like you are. Mm-hmm. And in the past, I have asked you to explain to me things like async. Mm-hmm. Now, is that kind of the same thing here?
It's a big part of this. Yes.
So basically, you tell when you're writing a program, what you're essentially doing is the way you have your program structured is you can tell it to go kick something off, but keep going and wait and just basically be listening for that other thing to be done.
Yeah. And a big part of it, especially when you're designing applications, like mobile applications, especially applications where you're literally touching the device you're using on. Mm-hmm. Any kind of, like, if you go to scroll something, that scrolls, and it doesn't scroll because your application is busy calling another server or reading a database or pulling data in, and you wrote it in a very single threaded manner, and it's waiting for that to happen, and the thread is busy waiting on that, and you go to scroll it and it doesn't scroll because it's busy, your app feels broken. Right. So while even you may not be doing multiple things at the same time, you may be doing something on a different thread than the UI thread, so your application still feels responsive.
Huh.
Okay. And when you're doing multi-threaded code, there is a lot of, like, even something like, my application doesn't do a whole heck. I mean, basically the only thing that it really does now is, it has Swift data is basically a persistence mechanism where under the covers, it stores everything in a big SQLite database, but you don't have to worry about it. You just have these model objects and you say, save it. And then I said, and then get it back. And it does it all for you. But even that, that goes to the storage, or those queries take time. So like my app doesn't necessarily do multiple things at the same time, but it does all that data access stuff on background threads. So the UI remains responsive and it goes fast and it plays well with all the other things going on on the system as well. But yeah, it's if again, I can't believe this hacking with Swift isn't all behind a paywall, because it's so good. I think I literally like Googled like explain Swift concurrency, and it was like hacking with Swift concurrency by example. I'm like, of course he fucking has that. And yeah, and I learned some stuff that I'm not using, but I learned how to if I actually wanted to do multiple things at the same time, I learned how to do that. I learned, yeah, it's so. It's,
okay, hold on. Let me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you dig into that statement a little bit more? Like, if you're not doing two things at the same time, why do you need concurrency?
Well, okay. That's mostly, like I explained before, is to keep the UI responsive, even for those little itty bitty like milliseconds that it's going and writing or reading something to disk, right? Because if you don't do that, like, you will have moments where your application is not responsive at all. And even if it's something as stupid as animating a busy spinner while you're going and doing something that takes a second, half a second, some milliseconds, right? It's the ability to have that UI remain responsive and continue to, especially with, I think, these mobile devices where your interaction is direct, right? Your hands are on them. I'm sure we've all done it where we had a scroll bar and we've just like, done that little rubber band thing where you pull down and treat it like a fidget spinner. Mm-hmm. If you're doing all your work on that UI thread, there will be moments where that thread is busy doing stuff and the scroll view no longer works. It's stuck. Or those gestures play after the fact because they couldn't respond to them at the same time. So it's just a way to keep everything nice and responsive while you're, doing, like you said, like my app, all it does really is goes to like a SQL database that's on the device. It actually does some iCloud syncing stuff too, but that's all Automagic. But even that, if you're not doing that in a concurrent fashion where you're basically doing all that work on a different thread, your app will start to feel broken. It's pretty, like, if you're building an app that use like a mouse and keyboard, you may not notice it as much, but on a mobile app, when you're using your thumb and your fingers to navigate, your app can feel broken real quick. And I want it to feel snappy because that's important to me, because I like the iPhone and I want it to be a good app. So yeah.
So last question then.
Mm-hmm.
So compared to other languages where you've had to have multi-thread handlers, how does this compare? Is it handled more elegantly? Is it kludgy? Like,
I found it kind of kludgy at first because I didn't understand why they went, like, it felt over engineered and very, very academic. Like, oh geez, some college students got together and built the ideal concurrency model. But then as I went through and started fixing my errors and sort of like refactoring my code, things started to click, and I'm like, okay, I get it now. Because like they really put in a lot of effort to, like, if you're writing a more complex app where multiple things are going on at the same time, you have to worry about like, typical threading issues like deadlocks and, race conditions. And the stuff they added to Swift really tries to, like, if you follow this, quote unquote strict concurrency model, doing that stuff is almost impossible. Those types of errors, because of the way that they've done it, and they've added things to the language that makes it very deliberate that, like, if you're passing a piece of data or an object between two things that running on different threads, by default you just can't do that. You have to be very deliberate and mark it as sendable to get that across. And it's one of those things where it just gets you in the head of like, what I'm doing safe? Is it okay? Yeah. It's like I said, and just to point out, like, the very first part of the Swift concurrency by example, the introduction is titled "This Stuff is Hard," and it explains, like, it's like, hey, yeah, this is a very difficult topic, and it took me a few days to really kind of figure it out. And there was almost a point where I was like, fuck it, I don't want to learn this anymore. I'm just going to turn all this shit off and just go back and put my head in the sand and just go back to what I was doing. But now that I've figured it out, I kind of get it, and it's good. It's good. It's not an easy topic, but I think it was worth me spending the time and figuring it out and embracing it. And again, I don't understand how, like, this hacking with Swift website is just absolutely incredible. I can't tell you how many times I do a search for something, and if it's not an article on this website, it's someone asking a question and getting an answer on the forum. It's so good.
Thank God for community. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait till AI slop pushes this so far down the search history that we never see it again.
Oh, yeah. And I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone and ask ChatGPT more technical questions, or like,
sure,
like, how do I do this with Swift UI? And you know what? My hit rate is about 50-50. Sometimes it just generates code and you're like, oh, wow, that's real elegant. And you go to put in your application and it's just like, oh, you just hallucinated that entire thing. Huh, good for you. But yeah,
it's pretty bad.
It
pretty
can
bad.
be, but when it does work, it's great. So, yeah.
Okay, so how close are you to announcing your app to the world?
Maybe a few more weeks. I want to get a little bit further in.
Okay.
Like I haven't got to the part of my app that I think is the important part. I'm doing some, like, it all makes sense later, but I'm doing some ancillary stuff, trying to figure out some patterns, trying to, like, this is the first app I'm building with Swift UI. Heck, with Swift, I've dabbled with Swift here and out, but I haven't used it professionally at all. So I'm still kind of learning. So, like, there are entire, like, like, I'll start on something, I'll make a branch, and I'll go, after a couple days, this is all absolute garbage, and just throw it all away and start over. So when I get to the meat of the app and I actually see like a little glimmer that I can do what I want to do, then I'll start talking about it. So
okay,
yeah.
I'll hold you to that, because this has been going on for a little while now, and I'm excited to hear about it, but I won't push you. So
yeah, hold on.
When you're ready to announce it, we'll break the news here.
Counting unit tests, because I do write unit tests because I'm a fancy Duchess. I've got about 4,000. I have exactly 4,158 lines of Swift. So
holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
this is getting serious, buddy.
Serious, yeah. It's
now
yeah.
how many hours a week are you devoting to this?
Right now, maybe like I would say between 4 and 10 on a given week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things, if it starts humming along, I think I'm going to like schedule some like 4-day weeks for me at work, where that day I take off is Paul sits down and codes for at least half a day.
Wow.
Kind of keep some momentum going. But yeah. Then I have to decide whether I want to charge money for it and all that shit, or whether I just want to kind of release it and just to say that I've done it. But I think that's.
But you've built apps before, but you've never put something on the App Store, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You built little apps for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, but nothing I've ever submitted to the App Store. So that'll be a whole new experience for me. So yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Me and Xcode, we're getting all kinds of, we're getting intimate. So yeah. I think we did it.
That's a pretty good podcast, buddy. Why don't we wrap it here?
Yeah. You know the drill. Doingtheirbest.com. You can find show notes, you can find links, you can find social stuff all on there. And hey, thanks for listening.